Thank you. Okay, David, we're ready. Go ahead and kick it off.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Delray Chamber First Friday Forum, specializing in government affairs and economic development. Today, we are very happy and proud to have Rick Sartory, who is the Homeland Security Bureau Chief of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. We have a lot to hear from, I hope, and a lot on his plate because of all that's going on in the world today. We hear that state houses have received bomb threats. We have migrants all over. Homeland Security covers so many different aspects of our lives. So, Rick, can you tell us what's going on in Palm Beach County?
Sure, David. Thank you very much. You said a lot. I think you might be working for us, things that you just spoke about. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I apologize. Last month, my schedule, something happened and I don't recall, but Stephanie offered me this opportunity and I really appreciate the chance to get back together with my fellow members. PBSO is a member of the Chairman's Club, and I was just talking to Stephanie before everybody joined in and said that the communications and the events and the programming that the Chamber does is fantastic. And on behalf of Sheriff Rick Bradshaw, Colonel Bobby Allen, Chief Frank DeMario, all the leadership at the PBSO, we say thank you for what you do for our community. A little bit about me. I'm a native of West Palm Beach, born and raised in Palm Beach County. In my first life, I was a banker. Banked with Barnett Bank and worked my way down to progressively smaller banks. But through my banking career, it afforded me the opportunity to get involved in the community, more specifically the chambers in the various markets that I was working in, and got very involved with the Palm Beach North Chamber. It used to be the Northern Palm Beach Chamber, but Palm Beach North, and I was Director of Government Affairs there. We were very involved with the one penny sales tax. And I just tell you that history because that led me to meeting the sheriff of Palm Beach County, and ultimately came in, started my own company. I was one of his advocates, if you will, on mental health, learned a lot about the jail and the services we provide, and then ultimately came in-house about 3.5 years ago. I sit in our Homeland Security Division. The PBSO, Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office, is the lead law enforcement agency from the county lines, basically from Northern Palm Beach County all the way down to Key West. So we've got that 5-county area, and we gather all information, not only from any domestic or international terror incidents, but also crime statistics from it's about 130 different agencies that report their information to us. And we have different divisions I'm going to talk about briefly today that takes that information, we massage it, we synthesize it, we determine the trends in crimes that are happening and threats that are happening, not only in what would just our general safety in the half of the county that we cover, to what's happening down granular, like in Delray Beach, and we share that information with your police force and the municipalities that have their own. But as the head of Homeland Security, we have been afforded, and that's compliments to Sheriff Rick Bradshaw, who went after that type of funding and secured that seat. And we have been the head for about the last 15 years. Again, we get a tremendous amount of information and data from Broward and Dade and Monroe. And we use that information, again, like I said, to determine crime statistics and things like that, and threats and trends. But more importantly, we get real-time information, and we can share that with people like the Delray Beach Police Department, Boynton Beach, Boca. And we get that through, we have a team of analysts. We have probably 7 analysts that sit behind a computer all day long, and they get information, they get BOLO, like be on the lookouts, they get different notices from different agencies around, and we then distribute that out to, like, there may be a band of gypsies that are moving from Dade County up to Broward to Southern Palm Beach. And we take that information, we will distribute that to Boynton and things like that. So not only is it like just terrorism, but it's like, it's against threats as well. After 9/11, I'm going to switch over here and share my screen with you. And just so you that I work in a division called BPAT, which is Business Partners Against Terrorism. And we use the business community to be some eyes and ears to give us information and feedback. And conversely, we take information out to them. And that's a big part of what I do, is I'm out speaking publicly, telling them about the latest trends and everything from bomb making to what's happening in Israel and in Palestine right now on the Gaza Strip, and how that bleeds over and comes and ends up right back here in Palm Beach County. So consider us not only BPAT, Business Partners Against Terrorism, but business partner against all threats. So I'm going to share my screen. So bear with me 1 second. Make sure I move this around and be a slideshow. Everybody good there? You should be looking at a screen that says Business Partners Against Terrorism.
Well, good, Rick.
Okay. As we go through this, just remember that the face of terrorism has changed, and that's what these slides represent. February 13th, 2023, Michigan State University, 4 dead and 5 injured. July 4th, 2022, in Highland Park, parade shooting where 7 dead and 48 were injured. May 14th, 2022, Buffalo supermarket shooting, 10 dead and 3 injured. Back to 1916, the San Francisco Preparedness Day bombing, 10 dead and 40 injured. Sharing screens on top, I'm forgetting what the slide is, but you can see 11 dead and 1 injured. Here closer to home, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas on February 14th, 17 dead, 17 injured. Uvalde, Texas, 21 dead. Los Angeles Times bombing, 21 dead, 100 injured, back in 1910. Wall Street Morgan Stanley bombing, 38 dead, 140 injured in 1920. Another one close to home, Pulse nightclub shooting, 50 dead, 53 injured. Mandalay Bay, Las Vegas shooting at the country concert, 61 dead, 867 injured. Tulsa race riots, over 800 injured, anywhere between 150 and 300 people killed. Oklahoma City bombing, 168 dead, 680 injured. 9/11, almost 3,000 dead, including the 16 terrorists, and over 6,000 injured, and countless deaths related to that since then. The reason I bring that up is the face of terrorism has changed. After 9/11, Sheriff Rick Bradshaw said, let's put BPAT together, which is Business Partners Against Terrorism. And I'm going to go through now and kind of show you how our division has evolved and why it has evolved. Again, when we think of terror, we think of 9/11. The face of terror has really, really changed. Again, what is terrorism? Violence by non-state actors in order to achieve political goals and create a broad psychological impact. Violence and the threat of violence are important parts of it. Again, terrorism is intended to intimidate or coerce a civilian population. It aims to influence the policy of a government by intimidation or coercion, and it involves mass destruction, assassination, and kidnapping. That last bullet point, what does that sound like? What happened on December 10th, I believe, in Israel at the music festival. That was, ironically enough, or sadly enough, named after peace and friendship. What we see, when we talk about terrorism now, are these are, say, non-state actors, which are really non-government organizations. Everything from terrorist groups, some media outlets, academics, but we really get down to the bottom, the last two, the social movement organizations like Al-Qaeda, the KKK, Proud Boys. I think January 6th is probably the most recent huge example of domestic terror in Palm Beach, in the States, if you can imagine that. Individual and small groups, just people that have, the same political ideology, religious ideology, philosophical ideology. But the most of what we're seeing when it comes to the terror that we're seeing now is like Al-Qaeda, KKK, Proud Boys, Hamas. That's what we're seeing, and that's what we're tracking on a daily basis. So, as I mentioned before, Business Partners Against Terrorism, it's really business partner against all threats. We're the link between PBSO and Homeland Security, the business community, and the general public. And we offer training, support, and awareness to businesses and community organizations in order to identify potential terrorist threats, behaviors, and activity. Originally, BPAT came together. So after 9/11, there was a big concern of what's the next attack? Is it going to be on our banking? Is it going to be on our agriculture? Is it going to be on our infrastructure, our power grid? So we founded BPAT, and what we did in 2006, and we brought all the leaders of those industries together in Palm Beach County. We had the president of FPL and CEO of FPL. We had, if you look at the critical infrastructure, you can see that, they're run by really the private sector, not so much the government. 85% of our critical infrastructure is run by the private sector. So it was very important that we went out and we engaged those individuals in those industries to make sure what can we do to harden ourselves and protect ourselves against the potential or the next terrorist attack. You can see here our original objectives. We wanted to create an open exchange of information between the Sheriff's Department and, again, those CI operators, just to help prevent terrorist attacks. And that involved like talking to the agricultural community, like, what are you doing to secure your fertilizers? What are you doing to protect your crops in the event that a plane comes over and dusts you with chemicals? And so that was the type of dialogue that was going on. Critical infrastructures, they have 5 times the security force than PBSO. So by going out and taking the message and getting those critical infrastructure suppliers and providers to be aware and report back to us, again, it was a force multiplier for us. And it was a really great move of which everybody was participating on a regular basis. And out of this, some corporate partnerships that established goodwill. And I'll talk about McDonald's and dollar stores, what's come out of that since that. It has changed since the inception of BPAT. When I say before, because the further, more time and distance from any event, people seem to lose interest. And I guess we did a great job of educating the community on where the weaknesses and the vulnerabilities were for terrorist attacks that, we didn't have any. So interest waned and went from monthly meetings to quarterly meetings to, can we get you together at all? So PBSO did a pivot and said, you know what, we're going to go out to, instead of bringing them to us, we're going to go out to them and can kind of change our focus. Because again, we're not talking, we're talking about individual small acts by groups. And that's really what we're seeing now. So these are some of the partners that we have go out to on a daily basis. We interact with these different industries, like with beauty supply stores. We see them every year, once a year. We go to every single one of them. Larger ones like the Sally Beauty Supply, Ulta or Ultra. I don't know that. I don't buy them stuff there. But there are products that are sold there that are bomb-making materials. A beauty supply store can sell what is something called TATP, triacetate triperoxide, which is it's like a peroxide on steroids, and that can be used as a fuel to ignite a bomb. So if anybody goes into a beauty supply store and buys and requests TATP, no individual, you and I don't buy that stuff. So if that happens, we make sure that we put in what is called a tripwire, where we get notified in the event that somebody goes out and buys that stuff. So again, we talk to the clerks, we talk to the managers, we talk to the corporate security teams for them. So that's been a great partnership that we've done. Cell phone retail stores, we go out to them because burner phones can be used as a detonator for an IED, an improvised electronic device or explosive device. Anything that creates a vibration can be a trigger for a bomb. So when somebody's coming in and buying these burner phones or just buying excessive amounts of phones, we make sure, hey, it's not illegal to do that, but it's a concern. We deal with all our charter and private schools. We assist them with the development of a security plan. We install Knox boxes for keys for access. Our public school system has a school police department. Charter schools do not, and by and large, most private schools do not. So we work with our private and charter schools because, one of those things that I showed you was one of those slides was Stoneman Douglas, Uvalde. So that's a type of domestic terror. People are going in there because of their religious beliefs, their ideological beliefs, or their philosophical beliefs. So what we do is we work and offer every private school and charter school the ability to develop a security plan for them, what to do in the event that there is a shooter on their campus or nearby. What we've also done is we offer a free service. So communicate this to any private school or house of worship or a private school or charter school in Delray. A free service, if there is a shooting within or an incident, a crime incident, not so much a shooting, it could be a domestic, it could be a fight, it could be a shooting, it could be a gun, it could be a violent assault. If it's within 1/4 mile radius of that school, we will send them a text, an email, and a telephone call to warn them. And then we don't tell them to lock down, but they have the ability to lock themselves down. We give them information. We believe that knowledge is power, and they have the ability to make that decision. But we do that for all charter and private schools in Palm Beach County. Chemical suppliers, the big, heavy industrial ones, that is a huge, again, that just comes to when you blow up a car, you can blow up a car with diesel fuel and fertilizer. You can also make bombs and mustard gas with chlorine and muriatic acid from a pinch of penny. So those are the type things. If somebody pours that in an air conditioning system at a mall or a movie theater or school, and you've got a lot of problems on your hands. Again, another example of domestic terror. Dollar stores and McDonald's. We have a great relationship with dollar stores and McDonald's franchises, where one of the other services that we have that most people don't know about is our real-time crime camera network, where we put cameras on buildings of almost every dollar store. If you look outside a dollar store, you'll see cameras. You'll see the McDonald's, we do them. You'll see cameras on, not so much on stoplights, but you will see them on light poles at every corner. And we can follow a crime that takes place in downtown West Palm Beach, or it could be in Delray, and we can call into Delray PD and say, hey, this is what's happening. They're going west on Atlantic Avenue. They just turned south on Congress. So we can track that information. Firearms dealers, just for the suicides and suspicious behavior. Hobby shops and remote control and unmanned aircraft systems. The biggest, if you're paying attention to the Ukraine-Russia conflict, the biggest use of weaponry right now is drones and unmanned aircrafts. So we have a relationship with all the hobby shops and anybody that sells online drones, because a drone can now pick up and carry up to an unmanned drone up to 500 pounds worth of explosives and just drop it wherever they want. So we make sure that we're tracking who's buying those type of things. Hotels and motels. We speak with I go out and visit every hotel and motel in Palm Beach County, all 287 of them, once a year. Look at the Mandalay Bay. That gentleman had his own philosophical and ideological disagreement with the world, and he brought in an arsenal of firearms to the Mandalay Bay Hotel. And they said injured almost 900 people and killed over 80. So we talk about not only human trafficking, but what suspicious behavior it is and what that means. Because think of when the 9/11 terrorists were training here in Palm Beach County in Lantana, there was 8 to 15 men going to a hotel room at the same time, and no one thought that was a red flag. And again, it's anecdotal, it's after the fact, but we've all learned that now. So we talk about suspicious behavior. Think about January 6th last year, 2 years ago in Washington, D.C. Every single one of those people came from somewhere and stayed in a hotel, brought a weapon, they aggregated and congregated together, and we all know what has happened after what's happening. It's still happening because of that. Houses of worship, I talked to you about that, but we assist with security plans. We learned that during COVID, churches really struggled, and smaller houses of worship really struggled just to keep their lights on. So they were open door policy. And so there was while it didn't happen here, but around the United States and Charleston, South Carolina, all throughout the United States, there were attacks on houses of worship, on synagogues, on mosques, and on churches. And so we work with them because it is a type of terror. And what we do to prevent that is, we do a security plan with them and talk about and help them to protect themselves during services. Libraries, people wonder, say, well, why is the library so important to terrorism? Well, the library gives free access to the internet. A lot of them are filtered, so they can't look up certain things. But again, libraries want to be inviting to people. However, the access to the internet can go unchecked and untethered, and that we have seen the searches, the attempt for searches by our cybersecurity team is alarming. What people go in there, and you don't know if it's a bunch of kids just trying to think of how to make a pipe bomb, or what is somebody doing who's actually really doing that. Parks and rec departments, suspicious activity. If there's a van parked in one of your parks, like when you had your Christmas tree lighting in Delray, what if there was these two suspicious unmarked vans? Why would they be there? What was their purpose? So we want to make sure that our parks and rec departments are doing that type of sweep. Pool supply stores, I talked about before, about the chemicals and the things that can be made out of just generic pool chemicals and the damage that can be done. And the pool cleaning companies. we all have, if you have a pool, there's a guy that comes once a week or every 2 weeks and he parks in the front, he walks around the back. But during COVID, the manufacturer of chlorine, it was a hot commodity, and people were stealing chlorine from these pool cleaners. And if they might just steal one a day or one a week, what is somebody doing with if somebody steals one thing a week from all 700 pool cleaners that are in Palm Beach County, what are they doing with that? Again, chlorine and muriatic acid will create a version of mustard gas, which is very, very deadly and harmful. Storage facilities, again, storage of bomb-making ingredients, truck and vehicle rental agencies. That's how things are transported. The vehicle of choice for some domestic terrorists is a Ryder truck. We talked about the federal building in Oklahoma City. That was packed with over 7,000 pounds of ANFO, which is ammonium nitrate and fuel oil or diesel fuel. Not only did it destroy that building, it knocked 17 buildings off their foundation. So it wasn't just that. So when we will go out and say, if something comes back, a truck comes back, and there's a funny smell to it, let us know. We can come out and we have these pads we can wipe down and find out if it's one of the ingredients that we're looking for when it comes to bomb making. And car rentals as well. We visit every car rental agency in Palm Beach County on about every other year basis, just again to remind them that there's bad people that do bad things in rental cars. And all this, while it sounds like we're taking this information out to the business community, what it provides is an extra level of, oh yeah, because just like we all get involved in our jobs on such a daily basis and it becomes rote and we don't really routine, we don't think about it. But when, like I said, when somebody comes in and asks, when they look at the security cameras, when they're checking into a hotel, that should be a concern. When somebody comes into a car rental agency and rents a one-way car from Dade and drops it into Cuesta, Florida, with a check for $10,000 written out to cash, that's a concern. Like, why is that happening? With the U.S. Virgin Island driver's license, which is something that we had recently by going through all these. So it's just reminding people that don't be complacent, and just be that these are targets for where they may not be acts of terrorism, but where people will plan and congregate for terrorism. What do we find with some of those? Hotels, again, everybody knows about human trafficking, but there's been nothing for hotels about training relative to domestic terror activity. And when I say that, we will offer, in conjunction with Delray PD or local police department, a threat assessment where we have a team that will come out and talk about where an active shooter would be, where they might want to install security cameras, where if they want to have a training for their team, hey, there's an active shooter in here. And our guys come in fully loaded, and it's real time. It's not like, oh, this is what you would do. Because a lot of times it's like, how will you react? And we do a lot of that real time training. Again, when I walked into all the Pinch a Pennies, I walked in, if you have a pool store, they know you. When I walked into Pinch a Pennies in Delray, they would say, hi, what can we do for you? Because they know their customer, they really, really do. And if anybody comes in and wants to buy a large amount of a product, those purchases are highly vetted. Dollar stores and McDonald's, again, what have I said? That real-time crime network, real-time camera network allows us to follow crime live. And we've got a room right here behind this wall that's doing that right now, where they're following, they look at every camera from the airport to all up and down in different municipalities, wherever we can go. We have we have coverage on you talked about, I think the Opal, that's near the ocean, correct? We have cameras that monitor every square inch of shoreline from Boca to Cuesta. And we have that because of the partnerships with the condominiums, because part of what we do for Homeland Security is also monitor the waters for immigration and things like that. Some of the challenges that we run into on a daily basis, we went out to all the major big box retailers like Walmart's and Sam Club, et cetera. High staff turnover. You can't train somebody, hey, this is what will happen if somebody does this. But now we really see self-checkout. So nobody is seeing something unless they're looking at, the inventory at the end of the night and said, oh my God, somebody just came in and bought 200 hydrogen peroxide. And if you do enough of hydrogen peroxide, you can make that get it up to be the TATP I talked about, which is an absolute igniter for a bomb. So staff turnover is tough, and really the self-checkouts, which is really the future of where every organization is going, creates a huge concern for us, because only if somebody's looking at their inventory tapes at the end of the day do we know, can they find out, and then they got to go find out how do they paid cash for it. How can we track that person down? Right now, what's the national status of domestic terrorism? Some interesting things. As of October 7th of last year, we're in what is now called a heightened threat environment, which is the highest that we have. There is no more like, DEFCON 1 through 5s or reds or yellows or greens. It's a heightened threat environment. And that is the highest it can be. And it's really been this way since early 2022, but about every 6 months, Homeland Security goes through and reassesses it. And why has this been happening? Back to actually like 2020, a lot of this is, again, the proliferation of false or misleading narratives that it undermines trust in government institutions. Unsubstantiated election fraud and COVID-19 stories have given a lot of a big rise to what we see in domestic terror. Election fraud is continuing to go on. I mean, we've got we won't go down that political road, but there's a lot going on right now with that narrative that election fraud is rampant, and no matter what you believe, people take it to an extreme. Again, the ideological opponents or differences, the philosophical and the religious, are really what we've seen. And some of this information is dated because so much is going on right now. But you see last year, almost a year ago, the white supremacist groups organized a national day of hate. And that's just a horrific thing for all of our people of faith, not only from the Catholic Church, but to the synagogues, to the mosques. And that was a big deal here in Palm Beach County. They had parades, and it was alarming. So we were on high alert with that. Other issues that we follow on a daily basis. Roe versus Wade, when that was overturned, there was a big movement for that. It wasn't really publicized a lot, but there was a big movement in that, and people that were either for or against Roe versus Wade. There's some, as you can see there, the Second Amendment, get armed, get trained, Proud Boys, if you will. That's a concern people that we have. Federal elections, again, that's a thing I mentioned before, but anytime there's a federal election, which there will be a primary here in March, there will be, presidential primary in March, and then November, we'll be on high alert for what could potentially happen just based on the narrative, what goes on out there. The biggest thing right now is in the last month is the Israel-Hamas conflict and what that is doing. There's a lot of people in Israel that would have normally gotten married in Israel that are coming to Palm Beach County. People of wealth, people of stature, VIPs, if you will, to use that in air quotes, are getting married here in Palm Beach County because of just what the uncertainty and the danger in that. And that creates a tremendous stress on the island of Palm Beach. A lot of that is going to the breakers. So we work very, very closely with the breaker security team. There's a contingency of IDF folks, retired IDF members that are here to provide security for these VIPs, if you will. And if former President Trump, if he's ever in town, it could be, it's a big showing of political, of just a lot of people in the town of Palm Beach. So that's a lot of what's happening right now is the Israel-Hamas conflict. The note I was making earlier, Steph, was last 2 weeks, there's been national, but really focused in the state of Florida, bomb hoax that has been going out to almost every synagogue and Jewish house of worship, and to our schools. We knew it was a hoax because schools were getting bomb threats during the holiday break. So we knew that it was, but the individuals sending these out, there was about 40 different email addresses they were coming from. And just to show you the hatred and how somebody's heart turned so hardened, the email addresses were, and pardon me, but I want to be very transparent with you and to show you the severity of what we deal with on a daily basis. Some of the email addresses were gouge the eyes out of Jews at gmail.com. I mean, just horrible, horrific things. And there was about 40 of them that were very similar to that were being sent. And going back to that private school and charter school incident notification, I get in my email on a daily basis about 40 or 50 of those notices a day. And about 2 weeks ago, I noticed a trend. I was like, why is every Jewish school getting a bomb threat? And it was always within that quarter mile. And that's, our people were already on it, but I noticed that was happening. So that was something that I wanted to bring up, because you'll hear, I believe it was in the paper today, but we were seeing that 2 weeks ago. And tracing, and we've got a whole cybersecurity team here that goes back up through the internet and the World Wide Web to try to track those things down. But those are the type of things that are happening right now that are really the face of domestic terror. But when somebody sends an email out and says, gouge the eyes out of the Jews at gmail.com, that's a concern. So we work with our houses of worship in South County specifically. We have deputies that are kind of liaisons to every house of worship, every church, synagogue, and mosque, where they'll go there and do their reports in the parking lot and things like that. So if any of the members of the chamber that aren't aware of that service, please put them in touch with me, and I'll make sure that we get that out, because especially now, as long as that conflict in Israel is going on, this is one of our number one concerns right now. Some of those people that are sending those emails, we have homegrown violent extremists and domestic violent extremists. Homegrown are people that are here, but they're really influenced by a foreign country or a foreign entity or one of those hate groups. So that's what we're seeing. Something we call them an HVE is really the ones that we think are sending out those horrible emails. The domestic violence are just, think of, like I said, at the end of that, look at Proud Boys and insurrection, the January 6th insurrection participants, the KKK. I mean, they're not influenced by anybody else but their own ideology and their own philosophical beliefs and their own religious beliefs. But it's always very important to remember, and that's why it's bold at the end, is that just because somebody advocates for something different doesn't mean, that it's illegal. And it may be constitutionally protected. And that's, our First Amendment. So that's a fine line that we walk on a daily basis when we're trying to investigate these things, some of these crimes. This is a hard thing to see. So what I'd like to do is email it to you, Stephanie, so you can share it. When we look back anecdotally, when we interview crime people, there are 42 distinct behaviors that somebody that's going to commit a mass shooting, drive a car, into a parade, send a horrible email, cause and create jihad on the world. 42 distinct behaviors that you and I may not see. Like, I might only know Stephanie personally, and I know that she's a great professional, but I don't know that at night she may go home and surf the dark web, and put rant and raves and put the manifestos out there. But almost without fail, somebody that's going to create, companies participate and create and carry through on think of a Columbine shooting, think of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting, any of these shootings or acts of terror, somebody has done almost the majority of these 42. But I might only know the political side or the professional side of Stephanie, so I don't know what she does at night. And conversely, my next door neighbor may not know that I go to work and I sit and talk at lunchroom about how much I hate cats or something, and they do that. So I want to share this with you, because this is something where people go, I should have known that. And you don't think about it. It's everything from divesting of their assets to writing a manifesto on the dark web. Typically, rants and raves starts with Facebook, and TikTok, and it just elevates and it gets worse and worse. But I really want to send this to you. I'm so sorry that it's blurry, but this is it's a little manual. I can send you about 50 of those stuff if you'd like. That way, if anybody ever wants to see that and share it at the next meeting, it's very, very interesting. And it's about what people do when they're mobilizing to an attack, when they're preparing for an attack, and what the motivation indicators are. And where PBSO, where we come in, where we're most we can make the greatest impact is in the preparation indicators. Again, it's their actions, what they're going to do, where they may travel in the near term. And that's where we have and that's why we go to all the stores I discussed, all those different industries, because they are the ones who will see this person, this bad person, a day, a week, a month before this terrorist act comes out. And that's why we do that. But so the unusual behaviors, again, that's different from what somebody does. And when I go out and I talk to somebody and I say, if somebody comes in with suspicious behavior, give us a call. They go, well, what do you mean? I said, well, every time we go out and see somebody, we have like a 6x9 card where we say, these are the behaviors you should look for. But really, at the end of the day, you go home at night and you're sitting and talking to your husband, your wife, your significant other, and they say, how was your day? And they say, something really weird happened today. That's the thing that you need to call us about. You might not think about it, but you go, what I saw today just really bothered me. And so those are the things that it just makes you go home and you tell your spouse, like, that's the thing that we're looking for. Again, BPAT's in the middle. That's, business partners against terrorism, business partners against all threats, and that's really, it's the intersection of law enforcement, the business community, and terrorism. Other things that we do that, Steph, I would love to, if your chairman's club or your government affairs or whatever you want. I know we did a tour of the jail, but I'd like to bring them up here right now. It's normally there, but it's our real-time crime center in our, where when we get back to Gun Club, it'll be a much bigger, grandiose operation that's where we have analysts that look at cameras all day long. They look at Facebook during the day, look for keywords and things like that. And it's fascinating to see the real-time, the network that we have amongst the business community, the parks, the recs, the municipalities. And that's in that fusion center where a crime notice comes in, and the one success story, and I'll wrap up here real quick, Steph, that we had was we noticed a crime of people leaving banks and being robbed, not so much at the bank parking lot, but at Publix or at their home. And that's called bank jugging. It's a street term, but it's when somebody leaves with too much cash and they're being surveilled and followed. And that's probably from a percentage growth, so 1 a week to 5 a week, 500% increase, but one of the fastest growing, highest percentage crimes taking place in the state of Florida right now. And part of what I'm doing is I'm visiting all 386 banks branches in Palm Beach County. And I'll be down in Delray this afternoon, finishing up Delray, is talking to them and say, hey, listen, you do a great job of discouraging people leaving with cash, but if they do, people are being followed, they're being surveilled. And there's so much is going as far as coming into a branch. And I would say, I'm going to meet my wife or my business partner, we're going to open an account. And they just sit and they watch the teller window and they see somebody getting cash counted out. They text somebody who's in the parking lot. They give your description. Then I go up and I say, you know what, my wife called, can't make it. I'll see you. I'll come back later. And the banker's like, oh, great. Here's my card. Call me. Well, that person goes out and they get robbed. And there's been loss of life over that, not in Palm Beach County, but that's something that Palm Beach County discovered by just following these trends and saying, it wasn't they that was smash and grab at Publix, but prior to that, they were at a bank and they kept connecting backwards. So that's this fusion center is what we do by taking all these crime statistics. And we have these analysts that don't think like you and I. They look at the world differently. And it's amazing how they come up with, hey, this is a trend. This is a trend. So that's something I'd love to have you guys do and come share with you. And again, we've got an 800 number. I said, if you go home at night, you don't want to call 911 or you want to leave an anonymous tip, you can call this 800-429-0006. That's our see something, say something line. And it's number one, it's a number prompted system, but one is anything for terror. If you just say, something doesn't seem right. So we do offer that service. It's utilized quite a bit. And it's 800-429-0006. I talked about our threat analysis service that we provide. And that's if you want us to come out and take a look at your building. We will, of course, always defer to Delray PD. But if it's somebody in your unincorporated, I'm sure Delray will do the same thing. But threat analysis, we kind of tell you where you should harden your building. Crime analysis, the real-time crime, the fusion. We have a cybersecurity analyst that works on cybercrime. Again, and all these things, the message I'd like to leave with you is don't think of domestic terror as what happened on 9/11. Think of domestic terror and what happened on January 6th. Think of domestic terror as the overflow from what's happening in Israel and Hamas conflict and how that impacts us here. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. I know this is kind of long informational stuff, but really when you come here and I can do a tour, that's when you kind of see the things that you go, wow, that is really, really neat. And it didn't have any idea that that's a value-added service that the sheriff's office provides to all of Palm Beach County. So if anybody has any questions or concerns or anything that I talked about, please let me know. And I will get Stephanie a bunch of these books, these little pamphlets on the 42 distinct behavioral characteristics of somebody that's going to do something very, very bad. So I'm going to stop the share now. And David, send it back over to you.
Oh, thank you, Rick. That was an amazing presentation. I certainly had no idea of all that you guys do up there in West Palm, and we certainly appreciate all that. And I think we should take a tour of your facility when that's possible. It seems like a fascinating thing. And if there's one thing you want to leave us with, what would it be to look out for as citizens?
I would say just what I said, but if something doesn't feel right, doesn't seem right, don't ever assume that everything's okay. Because when you see these 42 distinct behavioral characteristics, you're going to say, wow, don't be afraid to call. I mean, that's why that's why Delray PD is there. This is why, and your unincorporated Delray, this is why PBSO is there, because we are here. Let us come out and knock on somebody's door. Let us come out and ask somebody to move their car. Don't get involved, but your involvement should be call Delray PD, call the non-emergency number, call PBSO, and if you see the act of a crime, call 911. And another thing, because of all this, more crimes are solved. You say, oh, that cop just let that guy get away on a chase. Well, there's so much information and data available. More crimes are being solved after the crime itself than stopping them in that, because down at the street level, everybody knows somebody on the street. So I would say get involved. Don't think that I'm not going to call because nothing's going to happen. So things do happen. Things are happening more now than they've ever happened before because of the real-time crime, the access to data, the access to information. So I would say if you see something, say something.
Is that anonymous tip line?
Yes, sir. Yeah, 100% is.
We don't have a lot of time for questions. We have people we need to give reports. Does anybody have a quick question out there?
I do. Hi, I'm Laura Simon. I just have a question. Thank you first of all for all the information. It's just awesome. But around all the issues with the checks for the all mail getting stolen, have there been any, that was one thing I know that you brought up, but I'm sure you're involved in. I know we've been a product of that as our organization and individuals personally, and it still seems to be going on, but anything that you can provide that would help.
We work something like that where there's such a wide impact. We do work with every local, state, and federal agency, and we're working with the Postal Service. We have information with them. We get a lot of our information and that happening. That stuff happens up in New York before it happens here. We have somebody that sits at NYPD, and we get better information, faster information from NYPD. So all I can tell you with that, I don't have any specific information, Laura, to tell you, but we do. It's something we work on a daily basis, but we are working with the postal. A lot of that is you had a rogue employees who were, giving out the mailbox keys. So a lot of it's just kind of a bad apple type thing. But because of that, how far does it go and how much proliferation, did we experience? But all I can tell you is that, if there's something more, I will look into that. If there is something more that I'm not aware of, I absolutely will let you know back and follow up on that with you. But I would say that, we've got people that are working on it every single day. So nothing hasn't been an aha moment yet, but if there has been, I will absolutely follow back up with your group. I commit to that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great question.
Any other quick questions for Rick? Great. Thank you, Rick. It was a great presentation again, and please come back and see us again.
I want to make it better, and when we get back to Gun Club, I think we'll just do a full tour of everything that we have at the main correction facility there. And it'll be a clean building eventually. It's very sick right now, but they're cleaning it up. So I look forward to doing that again and sharing that information with the chamber membership. So thank you very much.
We love
Shoot
it
us an
that
email.
as part of Leadership Delray, we visit.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we visit the jail, but maybe we'll take the Chairman's Club to jail. I don't know. Well, we'll see about something, but we'd love to take advantage of that. Thank you again.
Thank you. I'm going to drop off. Okay, Steph?
Okay.
You guys have a great Happy New Year to you all.
Happy New
Thank
Year.
you. Same to you.
Thank you.
Let's go to Felicia Goldstein from Representative Frankel's office.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy, healthy new year to everyone. I hope it's a peaceful year eventually. I just wanted to give a quick update. The Congresswoman is heading back. We have two dates for a possible government shutdown. One would be in January, one would be in February. They broke it down into two separate parts, depending on what parts of the budget they're going to tackle first. So she'll be heading back, trying to avoid that, obviously. But good news is I am going today, this afternoon at noon, and I know some other people are going to be there as well, probably people on here. I know Zeph will, to the Wayside House, which is one of the programs that the Congresswoman provided community funding project to, and presented them with a $1 million check from the federal government to do their expansion. It's a phenomenal place. If you don't know anything about it, stop by, come today. It's just a really good place that helps young women and children and babies. And they do incredible work and have a great success percentage and story in many situations where it's very difficult to see only bad things go wrong. So I'm excited to be doing that. We did community funding projects. We're hoping they're going to be in the budget again. We don't know for sure yet until we have a budget, but there were other groups like domestic violence, AVDVA, that we gave $1 million to Caridad Center. They're going to be presenting their mobile unit soon, which is going to go to all the underserved communities. So there's a lot of good work being done out there, especially in Delray with a lot of your not-for-profits. And we greatly appreciate everything that the Chamber does in supporting these wonderful, wonderful groups.
Thank you, Felicia. Felicia was talking about the ribbon cutting at Wayside. I believe it's noon. Everybody is welcome.
Yes.
It's on 6th Avenue between 3rd and 4th, I believe. Okay, so let's go to Greg Giacone from the Fire Department.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Are you able to hear me okay? I've had trouble with my mic.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Just recovering from.
Greg, you cut out.
How about now? Is that better?
No.
No, I'm having trouble with my mic. I'm sorry.
Can't really hear you, Greg.
Do you want to type
Why don't
it into the chat if you have an update?
We can.
I'll give that a shot.
Okay. Oh, we can sort of hear you now.
Yeah, it comes and goes. I'm having trouble with it. If you can still hear me, we're construction's really starting to come out of the ground on Station 113 at 651 West Linton Boulevard. And that's really the major item we've got going on.
We got that. We heard it.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Laura Simon from the Downtown Development Authority. You have an update for us, Laura?
Hi, good morning, everybody. Happy New Year. That was first of all, it was a great presentation this morning, just on Homeland Security and just all the work that our public safety is doing for us. So, and combination with that, just on a local level, working with our local teams here with the downtown specifically, our organization will be funding cameras for the Real-Time Crime Center, which will be located hopefully soon on Old School Square on the parking garage, overlooking the Old School Square grounds, really to help us in that area. Our safety ambassadors are continuing to work really closely in the downtown with our police department and helping manage our downtown safety and our high visitor traffic that's coming in, which is great to see. Over the holiday season, we had in spite of the weather, we had a very busy holiday season, and with good news not being no bad safety issues. But we, again, continue to move into season and our ambassadors are out there. We are going to increase the daytime ambassador program. So we'll have more feet on the street during the day in the morning, because we are seeing a lot of heavier traffic in the morning than we traditionally have. So DDA board meeting is on Monday at noon, and we will be discussing the amendment, extending the West Atlantic parking LDRs. So it's an incentive for development on West Atlantic Avenue. It is just an extension of that existing LDR that's there. So just to hopefully incentivize some redevelopment, repurpose some of the buildings we have a high vacancy rate on the West Atlantic corridor. So we want to see hopefully that we can incentivize those to develop out there. A lot of events happening in our world. So on the economic development and event side, we do have First Friday Art Walk tonight. We have about 16 galleries participating. The Cornell Art Museum has a new opening. So we hope everybody can come by tonight. Starts at 6 o'clock. So we have a new exhibition starting there. And then we just continue throughout the month with a lot of activities. So make sure that you're following us there. But a lot of things going on. It's been a busy first quarter, so we're moving into second quarter. There is one thing that I just want to put on the radar as far as it came up yesterday to the downtown organizations in Florida that we're focusing on, which is House Bill 7013, which is focusing on special districts. So it's a special district, mostly independent districts, but it is on the radar, and we will be in Tallahassee the 31st and the 1st of February to address that. We're meeting next week to pull some information together, because it is targeting a lot of the different special districts, DDAs, and CRAs as well. So yeah, so I'll just want to put that on your radar. I'll forward that over to you, Stephanie.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so I've got
See you in
some
Tallahassee next week. Thank you.
Yeah, some information from Miami DDA, West Palm DDA, and we're all independent, the business improvement districts, special assessment districts all throughout Florida are all kind of rallying together to figure out what we could do.
What is the thrust of the bill?
It's really adding more language around sunshine dates, adding for board member term limits, really looking at, assessments on that, but they're really focusing on, we're a dependent district. So the focus is more on, but they can easily pull in dependent districts as well. So I'll send it over. So it's like really term limits, the reauthorization of independent special taxing districts and inactive special districts, municipal conversion of independent special districts, performance measures, community development districts, independent special fire controls, mosquito controls, neighborhood improvements. So it's really all those encompassing into this. And it really went into play in mid-December. So I'll shoot that over to you right now, Stephanie.
All right, thank you.
If there's no questions for Laura, let's go to Jackie Ramirez from SBDC.
She had to
Small Business
go.
Development. Oh, okay.
She had to go,
well,
but
let's
I'll give a quick update for Jackie.
Well, tell us what's going on in the chamber, Stephanie.
Well, I will too. So just quickly, Jackie and I had a couple of meetings over end of December and early January. We went to the elders table yesterday to remind the businesses there of the great services that the SBDC offers. And we're also working in the Andre Design District as well. There are a lot of small businesses there, trying to round them all up and schedule a meeting with them to let them know what's going on. So we've been working hand in hand with the SBDC as we do every day, because they're in this office. So quickly, I know we're ready to go, but two important things. January 24th is our State of the City lunch and board installation at the Aloft Hotel at 11:45. and Vice Mayor Ryan Boylston is going to be the moderator, and our guests will be City Manager Terrence Moore, Executive Director of the DDA Laura Simon, Executive Director of the CRA Renee Jadising. They'll be our panel, and we'll get to hear everything, the accomplishments in 2023 and what we can look forward to in 2024 in our city. So we're very excited about that. And January 30th, we'll be having the candidates forum. We've got an election coming up in March, as you know. So at the Arts Garage, we'll be doing our forum for the 3 seats for mayor, seat 1 and seat 3. It's not a debate. Hopefully no one will debate each other, but it's actually a forum and it's free. It's at Arts Garage and it's from 6 to 9 p.m. on January 30th. Next month, we'll be hearing from Vice Mayor Ryan Boylston. He'll be giving us an update on everything that's going on in the city. And as Laura mentioned, I and our advocacy chair, Vivian DeMille, will be in Tallahassee next week, along with Rob Long and Angela Burns. We've got meetings set up with Senator Berman, Representatives Casello, Skidmore, Caruso as well. So we'll be meeting and advocating for, there are about 5 appropriations requests from the city and at least 1 from achievement centers that we're working on. So Laura, send me your information and we'll add that to the list. And that's all I've got.
Okay.
Not too late. All right, so thank you, everyone. We're going to wrap it up. David, any last topics?
No, just Happy New Year from everybody at the chamber to all of you out there in Delray land, and we'll see you next month. And who is our speaker next month, Stephanie?
Ryan Boylston, our vice mayor, will be our speaker in February, First Friday Forum. So we'll see you all then, if not before. Thank you so much.
Stephanie, have a
Bye.
successful weekend. I mean, a successful trip.
Thank you. We'll
Enjoy.
miss you, Stuart.
Miss you as well. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.